Today, we're diving into the story of Iran, and what a story it is. It stretches back thousands of years. For a huge chunk of that time, you might have known this place as Persia, home to one of history's first real superpowers. And today, well, it's still an absolutely central, and let's be honest, complex player on the world stage.
So that's the big question we're tackling. How exactly did that happen? We're going to trace four massive transformations that connect the ancient Persian emperors to the modern republic. It's a journey through conquest, culture, and of course, revolution.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. Our story kicks off with the first great transformation, the creation of a blueprint for what an empire could be. This is really where the Persian identity was first forged on a global scale.
And the man who started it all was Cyrus the Great. Around 550 BCE, he founded what's known as the Achaemenid Empire. But get this, he wasn't just a typical conqueror. His policies were, for the time, revolutionary. He actually allowed religious freedom and famously released the Jewish people from captivity in Babylon. He created this incredibly diverse, multi-ethnic empire that was unlike anything the world had ever seen.
And the sheer scale of it was just immense. The empire Cyrus built stretched all the way from India to Egypt and even parts of Greece. For the very first time in history, this region wasn't just some local kingdom. It was a true global superpower, and it set a whole new standard for how to run a country.
The Achaemenid model was incredibly successful, but no empire lasts forever. After about 2 centuries of dominance, it all came to a very dramatic end. In 330 BCE, a brilliant and super ambitious young general named Alexander the Great defeated the Persians, closing the first great chapter of their imperial story.
Okay, so fast forward a few centuries, and we get to the second great transformation. And this wasn't just another conquest. This was something much deeper. It was a profound cultural and religious conversion that would completely reshape the soul of the nation.
The shift was just monumental. Before the 7th century, the big power in the region was the Sasanian Empire, and their state religion was Zoroastrianism. But then came the arrival of Arab Muslim armies. The Sasanian dynasty fell, the region became part of the growing Islamic caliphates, and over time, Islam became the dominant faith.
Now, here's the crucial point. While the politics and the religion changed, Persian culture itself absolutely did not disappear. Instead, it adapted and blended with Islam in some really powerful ways. The Persian language, for instance, became the go-to language for poetry and literature across much of the Islamic world. Persian ideas about government and art were adopted by the new rulers, and its scholars and scientists, they became central figures in the Islamic Golden Age.
And this brings us to our third pivotal moment. So after centuries of being part of these larger Islamic empires, a new dynasty rose up that would give Iran a totally unique religious identity, one that sets it apart from most of its neighbors, even to this day.
This revival was all thanks to the Safavids. When they came to power in 1501, they put an end to a long period of foreign rule and fragmentation. The Safavids basically put Iran back on the map as a powerful, independent state, forging a new sense of national identity.
And here is the single most important decision they made. The Safavids declared Shia Islam the official state religion. Now, this was a huge defining choice. At the time, most of the Muslim world was, and still is, predominantly Sunni. This act cemented Iran as the heartland of Shia Islam, a branch of the faith that believes leadership should have stayed within the Prophet Muhammad's family. That distinction is absolutely fundamental to understanding Iran's identity today.
All right, let's take a big leap forward to the 20th century for our fourth and final transformation. This is the one that created the modern state we all know. This is the story of a dramatic and world-changing revolution.
The pressure for this revolution had been building for decades. It really kicked into high gear with Reza Shah's aggressive, top-down secular modernization. By the 1970s, a lot of Iranians were deeply unhappy with the Shah's authoritarian rule, the growing inequality, and all the heavy Western influence. This discontent just boiled over, leading to the collapse of the monarchy in 1979 and the return of the exiled religious leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
The outcome was immediate and profound. The 2,500-year-old monarchy was just gone. And in its place, Iran was reborn as the Islamic Republic, a brand new political system built on Sharia law and led by a clerical establishment.
This new republic was immediately thrown into the fire, facing a series of immense challenges that have really defined its existence for the past 4 decades, shaping both what life is like inside the country and its place in the world.
And the challenges were severe. Almost right away, the new republic was plunged into a brutal 8-year war with Iraq.
Since then, it's had to deal with crippling international sanctions, a ton of controversy over its nuclear program, and waves of significant internal protests.
Let's just pause on this number for a moment. Nearly 1 million casualties in the war with Iraq. That is just a staggering figure. It really highlights the immense human cost of that conflict and the trauma it inflicted on the nation in the early years of the Republic.
So, when you put it all together, you see this incredible tapestry. It's a story that's defined by the ambition of its ancient empires, the sheer resilience of its culture, the forging of a distinct religious identity, and, of course, the turmoil of modern revolution. And you can still see every single one of those layers today.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final question. For a nation that has built and rebuilt itself through thousands of years of triumphs and crises, well, its capacity for transformation is undeniable. It really makes you wonder, what will its next chapter be? The only thing we know for sure is that it's still being written.